Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7 and we are trying out a slightly different camera angle today. I think I already prefer it. I have more room to move and it's better than like a top-down view. So we're probably going to stick with it at least for a while, unless, you guys chime in and you hate it, and in which case we'll probably switch back. So today we're checking out the Twosun TS220 Nautilus. And this came from a dear friend of mine, Ed Durbin. He actually loaned me a couple of knives, and I'll be going through and reviewing them, with this one being the first. This was designed by Jelly Jerry. Jelly Jerry's designed a ton of knives. If you go over to his Instagram, it's literally knife designs that companies can reach out and say, hey, we want to contract this design from you. And it's designs that have been successful, but he is like a serial knife designer. He's pumped out some of Twosun's best designs and some of their weirdest, but overall, solid designer. He makes pretty cool stuff. And the OEM for this was Twosun. They are their own OEM. So jumping right into it, we've got these really nice milled titanium scales. Nothing too complex going on here. We just have two big milled bars. And then on the back, even though it's not the same, we still have some design consistency, which I really appreciate. I would rather have some semblance of consistency on both scales, even if they're not a perfect match, as opposed to have nothing at all on the back scale. We do have a nice 50% backspacer that wraps down at the bottom. We've got a lanyard hole. Actually, all the knives that Ed sent me have had lanyards attached. I had to go through and meticulously either untie them or cut them off, with his permission, of course. But yeah, I mean, we've got this nice kind of like, I don't know, it's stonewashed, but it's kind of, I don't know what you'd say. It's kind of reflecty a little bit. Like in the right light, you can see scratches and stuff like that it's gotten, just general wear. And I always think that looks really charming because it shows that the knife's been used. So I always really enjoy that. We have a nice deep carry milled titanium pocket clip. We have an external relief cut, which means that the structural integrity of the knife is made better by having the lock bar relief cut on the outside, because whenever your lock bar moves underneath the blade, you have a straight line supporting the blade, as opposed to having a straight line and then an outward line and then going back to a straight line. Now that's only relevant under the most extreme circumstances, but it's still relevant. It basically says I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of aesthetic for integrity. And while, like I said, it's only relevant in the most extreme of cases, it's still nice. I can respect it. So, but yeah, overall, nothing too crazy going on. Nice satin hardware. You know, fairly simple design. Not doing too much. I dig it. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the ergonomics. So we have a relatively neutral handle, except for, this giant kind of finger spot. I don't know if it's okay to call this a choil. It's obviously not the same as a choil, but it's like, I don't know if you can refer to that shape as a choil. But overall, this thing has been very comfortable in hand. All the edges are knocked down. It's not chamfered, but everything's knocked down. No sharp edges. Very comfortable. No harsh like edges or corners or anything like that. Everything's been knocked down. And then you get a really nice positive lockup with this flipper tab. It even has some jimping on it, which benefits you whenever you go to flip the knife open, but also while it's closed. I do wish we had some jimping right here. My thumb naturally rests here. And we do have, with the Poon, we do have, a spot to kind of nestle into, but I think jimping would have taken it to the next level as far as like being locked in. Don't get me wrong, you're still locked in, right? Because your thumb doesn't want to go that far. You kind of slip up the ramp and then you stay there. but it's just a little slick. I would have preferred, you know, some mild jimping. But ergo-wise, I wear a large size glove, so I'm getting a full 4-finger grip. I can hammer fist it. This here, I mean, you can use it effectively if you kind of trigger squeeze it, but it's really just an oversized sharpening choil. It's not really meant to choke up on. But if you did choke up on it, you could do it and you'd be fine. You just have to pull this like it's a trigger and not nestle straight up into the choil. Although whenever I do go straight into the choil, this doesn't poke me. They have a full ramp here, so the tip of the edge it's not cutting into me or anything. So ergonomically, definitely a comfortable knife. It feels really good. Now let's talk a little bit about this blade. We are rocking M390 blade steel, which is going to be good for mostly corrosion resistance, and it's going to have, you know, a decent edge retention, pretty low toughness, if I'm not mistaken, but it's mostly known for its, actually, yeah, toughness is actually, now that I recall, in the toilet. Edge retention is like 6.5 out of 10, and then your stainlessness or your corrosion resistance is going to be like a 9 out of 10. So it's going to be good for most people as long as they're not using their knife for anything that's super tough. We are rocking a really nice harpoon drop point. We do have a, and that feels really close to a hollow, but I'm going to say it's a thin, super thin flat grind. Because I don't feel that, I don't know what you'd call it, a concave, where the blade kind of pinches in really deep where it transitions from a flat to a hollow. I'm not quite feeling that. I do feel like it really thin though. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a high flat grind. We have a beautiful, pronounced swedge. And then we've got this fuller that goes through our flat grind and through the swedge. I think I would have preferred the swedge to be full. Let's see. If the swedge was full, then that means it would be right about here where the fuller stopped. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It doesn't impact the functionality of the knife, and it doesn't impact the deployment. I would have preferred the swedge being full, though. I think this looks a little silly going all the way through. But it does reverse flick very nice. So let's talk. Oh, and as far as the blade goes, this is going to be really great for poking and slicing. It's not going to be a master of either. It doesn't have a lot of belly for slicing. But the tip is plenty robust, and it's got a nice curve. And with the thinness of the grind, this thing's going to be great for slicing. It wouldn't be my first choice to take to the factory to break down boxes for 8 hours, but for general EDC stuff, it's really nice. So a good, well-rounded blade shape and grind. Now, somebody asked me to talk a little bit about, try to include in my videos a little bit about like the sharpening life and the stop pin placement. So I'm going to do my best to include that, and keep it top of mind because I know that's important for some of you guys. As far as stop pin, this has internal stops, which you can kind of see right in there. So it basically rides. Let's see if I can get you some focus. There you go. You can kind of see in there where it's milled out. That's where the stop pins that are attached to the blade ride. So you don't have to worry about a sharpening choil impacting the life of the blade. Also, edge termination is right there, which means you're going to have, if you keep the edge angle the same, probably 4 sharpenings before you start to see a smile. If you do really aggressive angle changes, you know, if it's, I don't know what it's at right now, but let's say it was at 20 degrees and you take it down to like 16 degrees, you're not going to get foresharpenings like that. You're probably going to get like 2, maybe 3, right? So it depends on how aggressively you sharpen your blades. But we have plenty of life still. The sharpening trail is executed very well. So I would say probably 4 sharpenings um, if you keep the edge angle as is before you start to see a smile. Now, as far as the specs of the knife, oh, let's actually jump in, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk a little bit about this action, because this one kind of surprised me. Okay, I helped it a smidge, but this is the 3-6-9 test. Basically means we have the handle pointing at 3 o'clock, the blade pointing at 6, and then we rotate, and then what we're hoping to see is the blade come down on its own at about the 9 o'clock spot. I'm willing to bet, I've been wrong before, but I'm going to tab this with just a little bit of lube on the detent ball and see if we can't get the full 369 out of it. The reason we do this test is because it basically gauges if you have perfect action or not. If the blade falls at 6 and the handle's at 3, when you rotate, you want them to fall together at about the 9 o'clock position. So let's see if we can do that now that we're lubed up. No, we can't. Still needs a smidge of help. Are we centered? Yeah, we're centered. I wonder if backing off the pivot ever so slightly. We still centered? Yes, we are. Nope, still needed help, which is fine. I mean, the action on this thing is fantastic. It's so close to being there, it needs the tiniest bit of love. And I'm willing to bet if I took it apart and oiled up the bearings, it would be there. The acoustics sound fantastic on the way up. The even the disengagement. Nice little bonus. And then the drop sounds incredible. Huge fan. Overall length is going to be 7.76 inches with a blade length of 3.27 and a blade to handle ratio of 0.73. Anything above 0.7 is acceptable. The closer you are to 0.8, the closer you are to having like that 50-50 Shirogorov look. So being at 0.73 is perfectly within that acceptable range. And then the overall weight is coming in at 4.48 ounces. We'll do some size comparisons. Up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen. It is the third best Civivi ever made, next to the Visions. And then the real steel Sylph. And since we are at an angle instead of like straight top down, it is going to give the illusion that the first knife is going to look a little larger than normal, and the knife in the back is going to look a little bit smaller than normal, but not by so much that it's going to be like way off. I mean, what you're seeing is what you get. And then my favorite budget knife of the year so far, the Migron Gotov. And we are coming in substantially smaller. the Gotov is coming in substantially smaller than the Nautilus. All right, so how much does this bad boy typically go for? Well, it's been a little hard to find a consistent price. This one's pretty rare, but from what I could tell, it was coming in at about 130 bucks. And at 130 bucks, so this is what I love about Twosun. So every company has to decide between how much money they want to put towards their blade and how much money they want to put towards their handle. I would say like 80% of the time, companies pick pimping out the blade, and then the handle is G10 or it's micarta or aluminum. Twosun builds from the handle up, right? They're designed first. So Twosun will give you, 10 CR with a titanium handle for like 40 bucks. And that's awesome for people that really care about, the material that they're handling, right? Somebody can use 10 CR for general EDC, but have a titanium handle and it's still going to feel premium, right? And 10 CR is fine for just daily use. There's nothing wrong with it. They'll also give you, and this is my favorite range, at about 80 bucks, 80 to 90 bucks, they'll give you 14C28N with a full titanium construction, right? I love it. I mean, for 80 bucks, absolutely. Now, the major retailer for Twosun is White Mountain Knives, and I'm not factoring in the 10% off. So if it's an $82 knife that's titanium construction, really thoughtfully designed, and 14C28N, and you take 10% off that, you're looking at 72 bucks. Well, now you have a full titanium frame lock that's competitively priced against Civivi. I love Civivi. They do great work. But full titanium frame lock or full titanium liner lock, that's really important to me. The full titanium aspect being more important to me than necessarily the blade steel. Not in all cases, but in many. Now this one here is M390. So getting an M390 knife that doesn't necessarily look like anything else. I assume Twosun's doing 59 to 61, the industry standard. And somebody might know better than me. Maybe Love Them Knives did a test on Twosun and he could say better. But my understanding is that they're hitting 59.61 for their M390, so it's not super squishy or nothing. And they're giving you full titanium construction, and they're doing it for about 130 bucks after discount. 117? That's insane. That's about the cost of the new G10 Civivi brazen button lock with the polished Damascus finish. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I would much rather have the titanium handle than I would, that finish. So I love Twosun. Now, the downside is they pump out so many designs. They're at like almost 500 now, that some of their knives are really kind of off the wall. But you can easily go through and cherry pick. If they have 500 knives, I guarantee they have at least 10 of them you'll like, and they're all going to be priced very appropriately. Twosun pumps out integrals for around 200 bucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really maximize the value per dollar that you get. Their price points are fantastic. The fit and finish of their latest models, I would say, even their earlier models was really, really good, but they have really dialed in their machining prowess. This was this is the TS220. So, and this feels fantastic. So you can only imagine how much better they've gotten with time. But I would say, yeah, this knife is easily one of the hardest hitters at 130. And the weight's 4.48 ounces. I almost forgot about that. I would say for me, this is an insta-buy. I think you have a hard time arguing the value of it or against it. you know, as long as you're okay with getting on their cheaper models, you know, D2 and 14C28N, as long as you're okay with getting a lot of the knife budget spent on the handle and the machining and things like that, you know, but I mean, this would be daily carry for me all day, every day. Super fidgety. I love the action on this. I love the bonus disengage. Oh, you know what? And actually, one thing I meant to talk about was I need to start talking again about what the disengagement feels like. Disengagement is just as important as the fidgetability of the knife, right? Like your disengagement should be as comfortable and as enjoyable as deploying the knife. And I can say this has a medium travel. It's incredibly smooth. You get additional access, right? It's super easy to get in there, disengage it, and let it shake shut. I mean, this is a holistic fidgeting experience that I'm a huge fan of. So, but I mean, let me ask you, would this be a collection piece? Would this be a daily user? Or does this knife miss the mark for you entirely? More than that, what are your opinions and experiences on Twosun? You know, I'd love to hear your thoughts, rather read your thoughts down in the comments below. Otherwise, that's all I've got for you guys. I appreciate you very much. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.